Good morning. Good morning. So, as David mentioned, my name is Alicia and Knox, and this is my husband, Greg Kemp. Together, we have combined 70 years in the nonprofit sector. We founded and ran the Project Somos Children's Learning Village in Guatemala. We lived in the Central Highlands there for 13 years, living on site at the project. So 2 years ago, we relocated to Ajijic. We're here today because we are two gringos who fell in love with the movie Coco, and it ties so beautifully. Oh, I was gonna have a little, there's us in Guatemala. And it ties so beautifully with our belief that that every person's stories matter. When we take time to truly see, honor, and preserve someone's story, we are giving them the certainty that their life mattered. We see people undervaluing their own stories, thinking they need to be real writers or have extraordinary lives worthy of documenting. At the same time, we believe that we've lost that art of truly listening to each other, which leaves people feeling invisible and unheard. The movie Coco is an inspiration to us. It's based in Mexico, and it beautifully ties into family, legacy, and stories. So most of you have seen it. My back was turned. Can you show me again how many people have seen it?
Wow.
That's awesome. I'm really glad to see that. And do you watch it every year? Yeah, we do too, on November 1st. So let's start with an opening scene.
You see, that woman was my great-great-grandmother, Mama Minda. She died way before I was born. But my family still tells her story every year on Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead.
Young Miguel's quest to understand his family's mysterious ban on music leads him to the land of the dead on Dia de los Muertos. There he discovers that his ancestors live on through the memories and the stories shared by their living relatives. As Miguel uncovers long-buried family secrets and learns the power of remembrance, he realizes that preserving our family's history and honoring those who came before us is what keeps legacy alive across the generations.
So we're definitely not claiming to be experts culturally or historically, but we want to present this to you, and obviously we may be preaching to the choir here. Day of the Dead is a vibrant Mexican tradition honoring deceased loved ones held annually November 1st and November 2nd. Rather than mourning death, the holiday celebrates life and maintains a connection with those that have passed away. The tradition stems from pre-Columbian indigenous cultures, particularly the Aztecs, who held month-long celebrations honoring the dead. When Spanish colonizers arrived in the 16th century, they attempted to replace these pagan rituals with Catholic observances like All Saints' Day and All Souls' Day. Instead of disappearing, the indigenous traditions blended with the Catholic elements, creating the unique celebration we know today. The Aztecs believed death was simply another phase of existence, and the dead could return during certain times of the year. This worldview deeply influenced the modern celebration's joyful, welcoming approach to death. The modern Day of the Dead celebration reflects this blend of indigenous and Catholic traditions. Families gather to clean and decorate graves, build altars with offerings of food and personal items of the people, and share stories and memories of the loved ones. Skulls and skeletons symbolize the acceptance of death as a natural part of life. Marigold flowers are used to guide the spirits with their vibrant color and scent. The Day of the Dead is a testament to Mexico's rich and complex history, showcasing the beautiful fusion. So, the distinction between cultural appropriation and cultural honoring often comes down to the context, relationship, and impact rather than rigid rules. The same action can fall into either category depending on how it's done. For example, wearing traditional clothing could be an appropriation if done carelessly for a costume party, but honoring if it's worn respectfully at a cultural celebration that you're invited to. So when we lived in Guatemala, the women, as in the southern part of Mexico, have huapiles, much like this lovely woman over here that has one in the yellow. It's beautifully woven and embroidered, and we happened to, everyone had them, and they actually tell a story of their particular group, because there's 13 different Mayan groups in Guatemala, and it tells their history, tells many things. Well, these ended up on the fashion runways in New York City without a mention of where they came from, and they were just done for sales. That's appropriation. So, key factors that tend to distinguish respectful engagement include depth of your relationship with the culture, whether you're learning from people within it, you represent the tradition, and whether your participation supports or undermines the community it comes from. The impact on the source culture and the voices of the people from the culture should be central considerations.
As expats, most of us arrived here with our own cultural traditions around death and remembrance. Our thoughts around death may have been more somber, private, or even fear-based. Dying and death could have been an avoided topic within our families. Death is often something that happens as far away from us as possible. Thanks to our dear Loretta Downs, we are all, hopefully, attending her classes. Announcement next week, she's open circle. Embracing the fact that we will one day die, and putting things in order in preparation of our departure. Loretta is teaching us all that talking about death will not kill us. What I love about the Day of the Dead is that it offers us a completely different lens. Celebration instead of mourning, connection rather than separation, colorful joy rather than black grief. This isn't just about learning a new holiday. It's discovering an entirely different relationship with mortality and memory. We feel the movie Coco gives us a framework to embrace this, and we are excited to share what we are learning from it.
You know, I wrote her a song once. We used to sing it every night, at the same time. No matter.
In this pivotal scene, Hector shares the original intention behind the song, Remember Me. It is a father's love letter to his child. This moment reveals the heart of the film's message, that remembering isn't about fame or grand gestures, but about intimate, personal love and connection. It's the scene that sets up the emotional climax with Mama Coco.
So these stories and your stories provide children with a sense of continuity and connection to something larger than themselves. Knowing that their grandparents, parents, and they themselves have shared a common lineage creates a psychological anchor. The feeling that they belong to an ongoing narrative that extends beyond their individual existence. This cultivates what psychologists call narrative identity, where children begin to see themselves as a part of a larger story. How many people here have children and grandchildren? They deserve to hear your stories. When children learn their family's actual history, stories about grandparents' immigration, parents' childhoods, family triumphs and struggles, they developed a concrete understanding of where they came from. This genealogical knowledge becomes foundational to their identity, helping them answer the fundamental question that we probably ask all in our life, but important in childhood: who am I? This is specific rather than having vague ideas. These are personal details rather than abstract concepts. Generational stories serve as cultural mirrors, helping children understand the values, beliefs, and worldview of their community. Through repeated exposure to these narratives, children internalize cultural norms and develop their moral compass. Perhaps most significantly, sharing these stories create bonds across generations. Children develop a sense that they are a part of an unbroken chain of storytelling which strengthens their connection to older family members and cultural elders. This can enhance their sense of being valued and understood within their family and cultural context. Perhaps most powerfully, family history provides children with real examples of how people they're related to overcame challenges. Hearing how ancestors survived hardships, immigration, loss, or poverty gives children tangible proof that they too can handle difficulties. These aren't fictional heroes. They're actual relatives whose strength lives in the children's lineage.
Coco is the last living person who remembers her father, Hector, but she has dementia and doesn't remember him until Miguel sings the song her papa sang to her when she was little. The movie is a race against time. Young Miguel must make sure Mama Coco remembers her parents and that their photo sits on the ofrenda, or the altar, or the memories are at risk of disappearing forever. Miguel begins the film dismissing the family's traditions, but his journey through the land of the dead transforms him. He discovers that honoring the past doesn't limit him, it enriches who he becomes. When Greg and I work with individuals to help them tell their stories, we so often witness a similar journey of transformation. 10 years ago, I became a storytelling photographer, documenting the stories of the children we worked with in Guatemala. This was a way to seek support with our donors and to share the stories of how their donations made a difference. I fell in love with storytelling while doing that work. Greg and I both trained with the Buren Center for Autobiographical Studies and offer memoir writing classes. We do this in a weekly class that provides prompts to write your life stories 2 pages at a time. It's an incredible process in a class setting with others. Their stories trigger your memories, and your stories trigger their memories and stories. I also help people preserve their stories by creating short films about meaningful moments in their lives. These video stories are done with your words, your voice, and your images. I do all the technical work. Coco reminds us that our stories don't end with us. They live on through the people we touch. Classes in memoir writing and digital storytelling are essential tools for preserving stories. Our grown children and grandchildren benefit from us preserving our stories and helping them understand themselves even more.
The following video is a shortened version of that came from my guided autobiography theme on family. Alicia and I turned it into a short video with family photographs from my childhood. I grew up in a family that had...
Sorry, that was me.
I grew up in a family that had the privilege of a safe place to live, enough to eat, and opportunity for an education. I was the youngest of 5 children, with 2 older brothers and 2 older sisters. My mother was a stay-at-home mom. My father was a Navy veteran of World War II. In those days of undiagnosed PTSD, my parents were not considered alcoholics, but very committed social drinkers. I became the invisible child, which was much better than it sounds. Despite my clarity of memory of my youth, I have very few memories of interaction and relationship with my brothers and sisters. I can see our familial home and neighborhood very clearly. As many children of that era, I was allowed freedom to leave the house early and not come back for many hours, only returning for lunch and dinner. I see that being the last invisible child was a gift that propelled me into the world of nature. Some might consider my parents' behavior toward me benign neglect, and it may have been, but regardless, I am grateful that my familial situation propelled me into a loving relationship with the mineral, plant, and animal worlds. I cannot know all of my parents' suffering that precipitated their behaviors, but I extend my gratitude and blessings to them, knowing they did their best under the circumstances.
This next piece is my own digital story, and it's deeply personal, the most personal video I've created so far, and it shares the experience that brought me to this work. We are in the midst of a worldwide pandemic. I am living in Guatemala, running the Project Somos Children's Learning Village. I need to get back to Canada. I am on a plane with a mask and a face guard. I am crying. I don't yet know that I have only 40 days, a number that will become too familiar. As always, my camera is with me. I make a decision to document this journey into deep grief and loss. I spent 2 weeks in complete isolation in mandatory quarantine. I am in an apartment looking out on a stark, bitterly cold lake. There is no Wi-Fi. I save all my phone minutes for an online photography class that becomes a lifeline. It is very serendipitous that all the assignments during this time are self-portraiture. I document what this isolation, dread, and sadness feels like. I am grateful for the distraction to focus on something beyond the intense sadness I'm enduring. Even now, the photographs are hard to look at. They take me back to this very difficult time. And I am grateful I chose to document this story as it is now a part of our family story. I know I'm going to lose my dad. Will I get to see him again? Will he be able to hang on until I get out of quarantine? Time crawls. 14 days has never felt so long. I have not seen him in 18 months. These last 2 weeks are the worst of all. I finish my quarantine, test negative, and make my way to my dad for 1 day. And then the ambulance whisks him off to the hospital, and I don't see him for another week. I am aware of the ticking clock. Each day apart is another lost day. I feel there is so much we need to talk about before he goes. During one of our precious visits, he pulls out the family box he has been working on for years. He spreads everything on the table. He hasn't had a chance to properly pass on the information to any of us. Dad has always been the dedicated family historian. He gathers stories and traces the family tree. He has kept letters, tickets, performance reviews, and report cards. He does a DNA test so that he can make more familial connections, most back in Ireland. As a child, Dad traveled from Ireland to Canada. When his father died, he, his mom, and his sister returned to Ireland. Canada had become a part of him, and as soon as he was old enough, he journeyed back to Montreal, where he met my mom. After their Irish honeymoon, decades would pass before he saw his homeland again. Both my mom and dad were intrigued with humans and their stories. They were excellent listeners and could draw out people's stories in no time at all. People felt seen, safe, and loved in their presence. When we were living in Guatemala running Project Somos, my dad would come and join us at the height of our volunteer season. He would be the on-site host, connecting with everyone that was there. He would inquire and listen to their stories. Throughout my life, my dad was always my biggest cheerleader. He would have been so excited about me becoming a guided autobiography instructor. He would have jumped in, writing his memoir 2 pages at a time. He would have added the stories to our family archives. Oh, how I wish I had been able to make a digital story with him. I would have recorded him sharing a meaningful story from his rich life. His calming voice and beautiful photos would have filled the screen, and I would have had this to watch again and again. Sadly, I do not have this historical keepsake to cherish and to pass on to his grand and great-grandkids. I know my dad's influence brought me here today. This work as a story doula feels like it was passed from him to me. How do I even begin to describe the honor I feel at being able to listen to someone's story, to hear about the wounds they've carried since they were 7, to learn about their battle with cancer, to discover they are caring for a spouse with dementia. Grandmas are often the stars in their stories. Family cottages provide very special memories. Meals and food memories play key roles. These stories touch me deeply, and I feel so honored when people share them with me. 40 days after his diagnosis of pancreatic cancer, my dad died at home, surrounded by his family. 10 years earlier, my mom too died 40 days after her cancer diagnosis. I was with them both in those final weeks. Time moves faster than we think it will, and we may not have as much as we hoped or anticipated. Sadly, I will never be able to hear the rest of my dad's stories, and I will always live with that regret. That realization is my commitment to help others preserve their stories and the stories of their beloved family members. I do this work in honor of my beloved father, Dennis Knox.
That's a hard thing to follow. So last year we took a deep dive into the Day of the Dead. We populated a beautiful altar with photos of beloved departed ones, including pets, some personal items, food, candles, and marigolds. Every morning as we drank our coffee and tea, we looked at the photos of our deceased family, friends, and dogs. For me, it was an opportunity to give focus to those who gifted me with their presence in my life and remember them with love and compassion. It was a very meaningful time, which was not characterized by loss or grief, but by celebration and gratitude. The Coco movie team spent 5 years researching throughout Mexico, learning about the customs, music, and family bonds around the Day of the Dead. They traveled through Oaxaca, Mexico City, and Michoacan, visiting towns where altars fill the homes. One older woman had a husband who had passed away the year before. She pointed at the photo of her husband and said, "He visits me every year." That really hit the team and made them realize Day of the Dead wasn't about mourning, but was about reunion. This is what shaped the film's emotional core. It became a love letter to the past, a reminder that our ancestors never really leave us as long as we remember them. Every frame of the movie was inspired by real locations. Through the Land of the Dead, though the Land of the Dead was fantasy, it was really influenced by Guanajuato's colorful stacked buildings. The Marigold Bridge was inspired by the fields of flower that bloom every fall. Pixar wanted to make sure that the movie was culturally accurate, so they hired Mexican historians, linguists, and artists as consultants. And if you look at the credits after the movie, it goes on forever with the Mexican help they had. By the time Coco was released, it actually earned the approval of Mexican audiences, historians, and even government officials who truly appreciated the accuracy. When the film premiered in Mexico, it became the highest grossing film in Mexican history. It grossed $49 million. The movie won 2 Academy Awards, including Best Original Song, Remember Me, and Best Animated Feature.
So what goes into a traditional altar? We've left this flyer on your seats as a checklist for you to take home if you want to create an altar. So as you'll see, there's the photographs, the marigold flowers, the candles, the food offerings, sugar skulls, papel picado, and all of it, each element shows love, remembrance, and the belief that death doesn't end relationships. It transforms them. As long as we remember and honor our loved ones, they remain part of us, part of our lives. So preparation typically begins in mid to late October, so we're right on time to get started. Most families complete their altars by the end of the month, and the altars usually remain up through November 2nd. Is there anyone here that does make an altar every year?
Awesome.
I just started last year.
Yeah? Great. And who here now wants to start making an altar? Awesome. We'd love to challenge you to create your altar in the next week or two. And if you want, send us a photo, a horizontal photo, and if we get enough of them, I'd love to make a little video and put it up onto Facebook, Friendly Gringos. At the bottom of the flyer is our email address. And meanwhile, on October 25th, Marcella, do you want to come here? Let me put this up. On Saturday, October 25th, my dear friend Marcella, who knows the restaurant Romeo y Julieta? Okay, if you don't know it, you're missing out. So they're located at 109 Zaragoza, which is literally across the street from us. And Marcella's going to be teaching us gringos how to do a typical Mexican altar. So she'll be doing the one that's going to be set up in Romeo and Julieta for the rest of the month. And if you want to bring a photo of someone you've lost, you can bring that along, and there'll be refreshments, and yeah, great opportunity. And as David mentioned, LCS also has an event, and if you know Monica Cardenas in San Antonio, they have an event as well. So embrace the events. We're so fortunate to be here and to be able to partake in the ways that work for us. Did you want to add anything?
Well,
okay. If you want to come up and talk to Marcelo afterwards.
It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks. Your stories matter. Without preserving them, your experiences, your lessons, and loves will disappear. Record them, preserve them, pass them on.
So, in conclusion, please do not underestimate the power and importance of your life stories. We are all unique and united in our human stories, and those that follow you deserve to hear them and learn from your perspective. If you're interested in writing your stories, our next class begins on November 13th, a Thursday, lasts 7 weeks. It's a transformational experience to document the arc of your life. There's more information in the back table. Our email was mentioned, it's on the flyers. If you're interested in putting together a digital story that you saw here today, you can also speak to Alicia. They're your photos, your voice, you choose the music. So you can, one thing that we were told that we didn't realize, one of the things that disappear first when people pass is the sound of their voice.
who's ready to hatch some?
Sorry. Go ahead.
Speaking of the sound of their voice.
Go
So
ahead.
yes, so it's basically the sound of one's voice that disappears from memory. So having a digital story preserves that. Okay. So feel free to dance, sing along.
Yeah.